Hi there, Keith Hittner, Senior, your realtor at Coldwell Banker Realty. So I've been asked a few times about these lawsuits that everyone's hearing about and about what's going on with the real estate industry. Are things really going to change that much? Are we going to be able to buy a house, or how are the cost shiftings going on? And the fact of the matter is, for real estate in Minnesota, there's some changes that will take place, but not really all that much. So I thought it'd be a good idea if I just did a little explaining to people about how the real estate industry works, because I don't think that the general public even knows how it works. So this is the first of a 4-part series on how real estate in Minnesota works. And so it's going to be a little background of the first segment. The second segment is going to be talking about the sellers from the seller's perspective. Third segment, we'll be talking about the buyer from the buyer's perspective. And then in the fourth segment, we're going to talk about the current state of real estate agents, how different companies maybe approach their brokerage responsibilities. And I think that it'll be a good thing for people to know and understand, whether you're thinking of buying or selling a piece of real estate now or sometime in the future. Everybody does. Or if you've got a loved one that is in the market and is a little confused, maybe a little nervous about what's going on. Keith Hittner, Senior, your realtor. So let's get started right away with a little history. So a real estate agent is hired to sell a piece of real estate. And his job or her job is to go out into the marketplace and find a buyer who wants to buy that particular piece of real estate. And for the buyer side, that agent is hired by a buyer to go out into the marketplace, look for a property that matches the needs of that buyer, and find that buyer a piece of property. And then they'll look at it and make a decision of whether that is a good thing for that buyer or seller or not. Okay, that's pretty top down. So how do you do that? Well, many, many years ago, when I first got started in the business, there were no computers. We didn't even have pagers at that time. So all the listings in the MLS were actually taken as, well, let's go back before that. Years ago, before anything was happening, agents got together. They were hired to sell a house, and they ran an ad in the paper. They held open houses. They maybe mailed out some flyers. That's how it was done. And then they said, we need a better way. And so they formed an association, and they said, look, we're going to list our properties in the multiple listing service, and we're going to share that information with other people in our industry so that it makes it a little bit easier to at least know what's going on and eliminates the need to drive down the street looking for a sign in front of a house. Very good idea. And so that went on like that for years. We used to have the listings had to be into their association like Thursday, because they had to print new books, and the new books came out on Monday. So it was always a rush to get it in this week's new listings. Okay, so we got the books delivered on Monday or Tuesday to the office. Everybody would peel through. Doing a market was very difficult because you had to go through your cutting. If you had your own subscription, which you were a pretty big hitter if you had your own subscription to the MLS, we would cut the pictures out, and that's how we put our market together. Okay, so it advanced in in the mid 90s. It started to go online, got a little bit faster to go online, and they thought, when we put a property up for sale, we're spending dollars. We negotiate with the seller what we charge for our fee to do our marketing, and whatever that number is, it doesn't really matter what it is. Some of that amount of money that we collect from the seller is going to go to the newspaper. It's going to go to print some ads and some flyers. It's going to go in the local publications. At that time, there was all kinds of real estate books that you saw on the stands all around. And then as the market advanced, that became computers, websites, all this stuff, a million different ways to spend money in real estate. That's what the fee was collected for, to make the property known to a buyer. Well, one good way of doing that, of course, is to list the services of other agents. And so there was always an amount of that commission that was set aside to be given to another agent should that agent bring a buyer and a deal would be put together. in the old days, that agent was a sub-agent of the listing agent. There was no such thing as buyer agency. Everyone worked for the seller, and the thought was, well, the seller's the one that's paying all the fees, so everyone should be working for him. That's how the amount that was being paid out in cross-sale, so-called cross-sale, was starting to be published. When the MLS went online, that payout amount, instead of being in the printed book, was printed online so that other agents could see if somebody called them and wanted to look at a property, they knew that they were going to be compensated for that work. Okay, so that's that. Now, we've got these lawsuits that have come about, and we're going to talk about how that change is made and how it affects sellers and buyers in the market, in today's market in Minnesota. So stay tuned for the next step in your lesson on how real estate works in Minnesota as we talk about the seller impact.